Okay, it is fight week. I am Mark Heath. I'm delighted to say that joining me is one half of our main event for this weekend, Contenders London, Contenders 31 at the Crystal Palace National Sports Centre. Azi Thomas, who fights Jeremy Petley in the main event for featherweight gold on Contenders. Azi, first of all, thanks for joining us. How are you?
Feeling good, mate. How are you?
I'm very good. As I say, thanks for joining us. Before we get going, obviously we're going to talk about the fight and what you think about Jeremy and how you're going to win this fight. But I just want to start just talking a little bit about you. Now, clearly, you're a veteran of the game. You fought all over the place, haven't you? ACB, EFC, Cage Warriors, KSW. So a lot of people will have seen you fight already. But for those who haven't, how would you describe yourself as a fighter?
Just come ready to fight. That's it. That's just me. Just want to fight. That's it.
And your nickname?
Nothing unusual.
But your nickname
ready
is
to throw down.
Your nickname is One Bomb, so I'm imagining that kind of leads one to think you've got heavy hands.
Yeah, I've got heavy hands. I haven't really produced many knockouts in MMA. I produced a lot more knockouts in boxing, but obviously there's power there in my hands. I know I can hit hard, and I put a few people to sleep in the boxing ring. I put a few in the semi-pro ranks at MMA. So yeah, that's where my nickname came from early on. So that's where the name comes from.
Okay, you say there the boxing. Obviously, I think you're a former pro boxer, aren't you? You've not had an MMA fight since 2018. You have been doing a bit of bare knuckle. How's that been in terms of comparing that style of fighting to MMA?
Oh, it's totally different. For that fight there, I didn't really prepare for that fight. I'll be totally honest and transparent, because best way to be. I didn't train. I underestimated the fighting on on those shows. There's some really good guys, and it's totally different. It's a new sport. When you hit someone with your bare knuckle, it's a different feeling.
I can imagine, but I can't imagine. But I can imagine, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, it's different. It's different. Yeah. So range is different. There's a lot of different aspects of that sport. It's a 2-minute round. It's fast. It's like amateur boxing. Would I do it again? A lot of people ask me that. Would I do it again? If I did that again, I'd have to prepare properly for that, because it's it's very, very grueling. You'd have to be prepared for it, because it's hard to get prepared for bare knuckle. How do you spar? How do you prepare to get hit in the face with bare knuckles? You can't really do it.
Yeah.
So maybe go on a weekend on a night out around Rel and Sunny Rel, possibly. But yeah, you can't really do it.
Yeah, there's not a lot of bare knuckle sparring goes on, as you say. So let's move on to this fight. You're fighting Jeremy Petley. How do you see this fight in terms of Jeremy as an opponent? Because obviously you were training originally to fight Emre Somnes, who's a teammate of Jeremy. What do you make of Jeremy as an opponent in this one?
Well, it's quite funny, actually. I was Martin Stapleton's sparring partner for that fight they had about 5-6 years ago, because I could switch to southpaw. I can switch southpaw and fight southpaw. So I was one of his training partners, sparring partners for that fight. So I was trying to implement Jeremy's style back then, 6 years ago. It's kind of funny. Now we're here. So someone tried to ring me. I'm sorry. So that now we're here. So I think he's a very durable opponent. He's a good opponent to have. It's someone I was looking forward to fighting, someone like that standard, because I got offered a couple of fights for my comeback, but their records weren't really something that excited me, get me out of bed to train hard every morning. But Emre made me want to train every single day, twice a day, and do the work. But obviously this is a late replacement. Well, not replacement, because Jeremy was on the show anyway, wasn't he? I think he was due to fight 2 other people. They pulled out. So now we're here. 2 weeks notice or 10 days notice, whatever it is, to change the opponent for. We knew Emre was going to wrestle. Kind of prepare for wrestling anyway. But Jeremy, I think, is more of he's going to look to more wrestle than strike and stuff. He can strike. He's got good hands. He's got decent boxing. But I think he's going to want to implement his game plan, which is top heavy position and and wrestle from top position. But yeah, we're ready for that. It's all good. I'm excited about the fight, to be honest now.
You mentioned that fight, Stapleton and Petley. That was on BAMMA, wasn't it? I think it was the main event. And if I recall correctly, Stapleton won by head kick, didn't he?
Yeah, it was a CAD kick KO.
That's right.
In the third or second round, I can't remember now. I was actually there that night.
Yeah.
It was a good fight. He gives Stapes a hell of a good fight. You know, he was standing with Stapes, and Stapes a very good fighter. Don't mind. You know, he was very, very good. Yeah, and I think he just got caught with his hands down. Just last, I think he switched off for a moment, which anyone can do in a fight. And he just got caught. You know, it was a heavy kick. I think that head kick would have put most people away. So there's no shame in getting knocked out by Martin with that kick. That was a tough kick. That was a heavy roundhouse.
And so obviously you've got a little bit of kind of insight anyway into Jeremy's fighting style, being as you served as Jeremy for Stapes for that count.
Yeah. I didn't really have much wrestling back then though. I'll be honest, I didn't have much wrestling, so it was more for the stand-up side of the game. But I've obviously been training MMA now, mixed martial arts. You can't fight decent lads just by having boxing. You can't, or just having jiu-jitsu, or just having wrestling. You have to have, you know, a decent standard. You have to have an all-round game. You have to know what you're doing everywhere, in every position you get put in, or you put them in. You need to know what you're doing. So that's going to be a difference now for me sparring back then to now. I'm a totally different fighter. I think most people just think I'm a boxer, which is great. You know, it's good, isn't it?
Absolutely. I mean,
I'm a boxer, but I'm a mixed martial artist. That's the funny thing. Or how the cringe bags put it, I'm a cage fighter.
Yeah.
But no, I'm a mixed martial artist.
I was going to ask you about that. I mean, on the face of it, a lot of people look at this fight and go, "This is a classic striker versus grappler match." But you're saying, as far as you're concerned, you're not just a striker, because I know you've got 3 submissions on your record by choke, haven't you? So if it does go to the ground, you're certainly capable.
I think I've got a few submissions. Yeah. You know, and I wrestle with good, decent level lads, high level lads, and you know, I'm a white belt when it comes to jiu-jitsu. You know, but what the belts actually mean when you're in a mixed martial arts fight, when someone's punching, it's not jiu-jitsu. I don't do jiu-jitsu. I've done a few lessons here and there, you know, with the gi on. It's not for me. I'm not one of them that will train in the gi. I'd rather train more specific for MMA itself, because if you train in the gi, you get used to grabbing collars and you know, the gi itself, where, you know, it's different grips in MMA. So, and I'm looking to, when I'm doing jiu-jitsu, I don't look to submit straight away anyway. I'm not looking for submissions. I want to put on a good fight. If submission comes, it'll come, won't it? It'll present itself. But I'm not one of them guys that look for submissions to win a fight. I'm not looking. That's not in my. If it comes to me, I'll use a submission, obviously, yeah. But I'm not going to go look at, I want to choke him out, or I want to throw a triangle up or an armbar. I just use my wrestling, because I've got wrestling. People don't underestimate wrestling. I use my wrestling for heavy top game, which I used on Eden Newton, actually, on ACB about, I don't know, 4 or 5 years ago now.
Yeah.
I just got on top of him, heavy positioning and ground and pound. Like I say, I wasn't looking for submission. I was just looking to ground and pound, excitement.
Absolutely.
No.
Let's talk. This fight obviously is a title fight. So I think it's your first title fight, and it's 5-minute rounds if it goes the distance. Does that change your approach? I mean, you're doing extra stuff in terms, because obviously the cardio has to be tip top for 5-minute rounds. I saw on socials you've been running up mountains in Wales, haven't you, as part of your training?
Yeah. And they're tough, by the way. They're killers.
Yeah,
they're absolute killers. Yeah, I'm always in condition anyway. When I'm preparing properly for a fight, and this is, like I said, I could get out of bed and train for these fights. The ones that you know, Emra's first fight, obviously. So I knew I had to train hard. I knew I had to be fit. I wasn't underestimating Emra. I knew he was decent, high level guys. Fought in Cage Warriors a couple of times, coming out of a good gym. So you know, I knew to be prepared. So yeah, I had to put my mindset. Push my mindset more than anything, and you know, your body can produce extra rounds, extra punches if you can convince yourself. You can also convince yourself not to throw those extra. Oh, I'm feeling a bit tired in this round, I'm gonna rest. But no, we've got to keep on going and push yourself to absolute limits. And yeah, that's what I've prepared my mind for. That's what those mountains are all about. Even though they're hard, the more, rather than physical, they're more mentally challenging.
Yeah.
And this is a mental game. Like, you know, when you get in that cage, when it gets tough and it gets nitty and gritty, you can't quit. You can't look for a way out. You got to find a way through, you know, the fog or wherever you might be fighting through, the mist or whatever, you know, and you got to find a way. And that's what prepares me for these kind of challenges, which hopefully, you know, this fight will go that way, and it'll be a barnstorm of a fight, and people will be like, yeah, do you know what? Azi's back. What a great fight that was.
Yeah,
I don't want to be in a boring fight.
Certainly has the potential to be a great fight. How are you going to win it, Azi? Where do you see yourself being better than Jeremy in winning this fight?
Anywhere. Anywhere. Wherever the opportunity presents itself. You know, you have to be confident going into this game. Jeremy's going to be confident. I'm confident. I've worked hard. I've trained hard. I've got the sparring in. I've had some great rounds of sparring recently. I feel as good as ever. I feel fit and strong right now. So yeah, I'm just going to prepare to win wherever it's going to be. Like I said, I don't go looking for knockouts. I don't go looking for submissions. I just see how it goes. I'll flow on the night and go with it and see where the fight ends up.
Okay. Can I tempt a prediction out of you then?
Prediction, a win, obviously. How a win, who knows? I know it's Jeremy's kind of hometown and he's gonna have a lot of supporters there. So I'm not looking to scrape a victory because you know, fighting away from home is very, very difficult. I've always fought away from home. I'm not one of these that won't fight away from home. Like a lot of fighters around my local area, they only fight on local shows when they got the home judges behind them and they're fighting absolute muppets. I'm not about that. I want to set example for my fighters because I've got a lot of fighters out of this gym here, and I want to set the example to them that, you know, we've got to take on challenges. We've got to take on opportunities. You know, you can't just like buy things by because the ball's not in your court. Let's go and take the ball out of their court. Let's go and smash things up anywhere. Doesn't matter where the fight is. I've got a gum shield. I've always got a gum shield with me. I'm ready to go right now. Just the way we are.
Nice.
We're built different down here.
Absolutely. And so with a win here, you lift Contenders featherweight gold. Where does that take you? What do you do next? You look to defend that title. I mean, obviously Contenders has got a lot of ambitious plans for shows.
Yeah.
A show lined up in America and more shows in London.
100%. Well, I spoke to Sean, like, you know, there's a few promotions after me to fight on their shows. So I had a few options. But then I spoke to Sean. Sean's saying, like, you know, this is going to be one of the biggest up and coming shows in the UK. I've been fighting out of the country most of my career in MMA, really. Well, the last most fights I've had been out of, you know, South Africa, Poland and stuff. I want to fight kind of like in the UK. I want to be able to have a few of my fans come. I know London's a bit of a distance to travel. We've got a few coming up, probably like 15 or 20 of us so far. You know, but maybe you can do a show in Wales because, like, I've got a big fan base down here. We can put on like big shows. We've got a good array of fighters around this area as well. You know, I've been in talks with other promotions about doing shows down here in Wales, like. So it'd be good to maybe defend it in Wales.
Yeah.
Who knows?
I like the sound.
Who knows?
We're doing Contenders London. Why not Contenders Wales? We'll see.
What?
We'll see.
There's some good guys coming out of here now.
Absolutely. As we've come to the end of our time, so I just want to say thank you for joining us.
Awesome.
For those of you not got tickets yet, you can still get tickets at contendersmma.com. And if you can't make it actually physically in person, the pay-per-view live around the world will be on MMA TV, and you can sign up for that now. Azi Thomas, Jeremy Petley, featherweight Contenders title main event, October 2nd at Crystal Palace National Sports Centre. Do not miss this fight.
Do not miss it.